Hey, this is Craig Fear with Fearless Eating, and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a homemade clam broth. Without question, the easiest broth you could possibly make at home. It is the exact same thing as clam juice, as bottled clam juice. And the reason you would make a homemade version of it, as opposed to just going to the store and buying it, is that you're going to make a recipe with whole clams. And clam broth is just a byproduct of steaming the clams in water, and that's all we're going to do today. And then you can use that broth in all sorts of different ways. It's actually quite a versatile ingredient, and in the description below I have a blog post I wrote all about clam juice / clam broth with all sorts of different recipes and uses for it, so you can check that out. And I also just have to plug my next cookbook real quick. It is called New England Soups from the Sea. I'm so excited about this book. It includes 80 recipes for different seafood soups. It's not quite available yet, but it is available for pre-order. And it's going to include dozens of different soup recipes that use homemade clam broth. Of course, clam chowder is the top of the list, but there's other ways you can use it too, other kind of clam soup recipes and other seafood soup recipes where you can substitute it for other stocks and broths. So clams are over in the sink, getting ready, and let's get started for how to make a homemade clam broth. Okay, so these are the clams I'll be using today to make our clam broth. These are quahog clams, and these are actually cherry stones, which is the kind of the medium size of quahog. The largest ones are typically used in chowder, although these can be used in chowder too. I just love these clams. You can see the nice colors and different kind of patterns on their shells. Everyone's a little different. So I just rinsed them off, and I just use a little scrub brush, scrub the outer part of the shell to rinse off any grit or grime that might be on the shell. Farm-raised ones, which are actually really good for the environment, mostly come pre-cleaned to market, so you won't need to spend much time cleaning them. Wild-caught ones might take a little bit more scrubbing of the shell, and just a few minutes. And now let's get these puppies over to the stovetop. Okay, ready to start steaming the clams and making the broth. I have my water boiling. Just a few things I want to share real quick. Make sure you use a wide mouth stock pot as opposed to a tall and narrow one. A wide mouth pot will allow the clams shells to open more easily. We don't want them stacking on top of each other. We'll also be able to see when they open more easily, and we want to be removing the clam shells as soon as they open. The second thing is I have about 3 cups of water boiling right here and about 7 to 8 pounds of clams. That's a pretty good ratio. Very general number, about half a cup of water per pound of clams. Most recipes it's about 7 to 8 pounds of clams, at least in home kitchens. 7 to 8 pounds of clams, 3 cups of water, and that'll give us an additional cup of from the clam juices in the shells. We'll add about an additional cup of liquid, and that'll create 4 cups or a quart of broth. But you can, if you have less clams or more clams, you might have to kind of adjust the water that you're boiling to start with up or down a little bit. At the end, though, just know that if it's too briny, you can dilute it with a little water, or if it's not briny enough, you can simmer it down to condense the flavors a little bit. Last thing is we're going to put all the clams in, cover it, let it go for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to open the cover, and we're going to start picking out the ones that open. So they're going to open up at different times. Some will open in 5 minutes. Some might take 10, even a little bit minutes, even a little bit more. We want to pick them out as soon as they open. So after 5 minutes, we'll pick some out, and then we'll open the cover up every minute or two after that and start picking them out. And usually about 10 minutes, maybe 12, 15 at the most, they'll all be open, and we'll just about be done. We'll have to strain it out, and that's really it. So let me add these in. I'll put the cover on. I'll check back in 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. As you can see, the clams shells, the clams are starting to open nicely. I'm going to take a pair of tongs, and I'm going to start just picking the ones out that have opened. Just going to transfer them to a bowl on the side, and pick these out, pick the ones that have opened out. I'm going to put the top back on, and then I'm going to check now every minute to make sure as soon as they open, we want to get these out pretty quickly. Otherwise, the clam meats will kind of toughen up and overcook. So I'll just finish this off, and then I'll check back in when all the clams are out and we're ready to strain the broth. Okay, so that's pretty much it. All we got to do now is strain it out. And one thing about straining clam broth is that you want to let the broth sit on the stovetop before you strain it for about 10 minutes. And the reason for that is you want to allow some of the kind of the grits, maybe some sand in the clams, maybe some dirt on the shells, or even maybe some broken shell pieces themselves will come loose as you're steaming them. You want to just let them settle to the bottom, and then pour it off and eye it and make sure that part will come at last, and just don't strain that part out. You'll collect that and discard it. So I'm ready to rock here. I got about a quart here, and of course I got you want to use a fine mesh strainer. You can use some cheesecloth over a colander, but I think a fine mesh strainer is your best choice. And I'm just going to kind of get this strained out, and I'm watching that sand and that grit. There it is. And just as it starts to, I'll pull it back. And that's pretty much it. So I'll just transfer this to some jars. Now, if you're going to use it right away, it's ready to go in a soup recipe or something like that. If you're going to make something in a day or two, just transfer it to storage containers, some glass mason jars, put it in the fridge so you're ready to use it. If you're not going to be using it for at least 3 days, or you have some extra, just put it in the freezer. So that's it. I'll show you. I'll just put it in some jars and I'll show you what I got, and we'll wrap things up. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to show you the final product here. That's my beautiful clam broth. Got about a quart there, and notice the kind of cloudy, kind of steely gray color. That is exactly the color that you're looking for. And again, it's just so easy. And one of the reasons I love this broth is that you don't have to do anything to it. I mean, it is ready. I tasted it. It's fantastic. It's strongly flavored, very pungent, very briny. That's the way it should be. And you don't have like other broths like chicken broth, beef broth, land-based broths. They're easy, but you gotta add a mirepoix, carrots, onions, celery, sometimes other herbs. You gotta let it simmer a while. You gotta let the gelatin come out if you want to, for like some of the healing properties of these bone broths. And even some seafood stocks like fish broth, lobster stock, fish stock, lobster stock. Again, you're adding vegetables for flavor. You might be roasting the lobster shells. You don't have to do anything to this. It is just fantastic on its own. You don't need any vegetables. You don't need any herbs. It's perfect. Later on in a soup, you might add some other things, of course, but it is the perfect base for so many different types of seafood soups. Enhances so many other dishes, and it's just so easy. It's my favorite broth. And let's see if I have any other links. I think I'll add them in the description below. Don't forget to click subscribe. Some links that might use clam broth, like my chowder recipe, I'll put in there. And I'll check on a few other. I think I have a few other recipes on my blog, so you can use this clam broth in other things beyond just chowder. So I think that's it. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to, if you want to comment, have a question, I'd love to hear from you. And hope you enjoyed this video today. And I'll see you on the next one.